Hey, Darren.
Hey there.
Hey,
So I just have a few minutes now. I was able to talk earlier, but I have a few minutes.
you do now?
Yeah, but not very long is all.
All right.
But
Do you remember, right before Natalie died, I was messaging you about getting an advocate?
yeah,
You understand why now?
well, I've known you've had a good reason for a while. Yeah,
Yeah. The abuse that Natalie rescued me from was abuse by the Boulder Police Department. After I hurt my back, I was vulnerable, and that's what they took advantage of, the fact that I was vulnerable. I couldn't walk anymore. I literally couldn't walk to the warming centers anymore.
hmm
Um, that stuff that Michelle went through, and also that woman who got $3.6 million. I went through all of that repeatedly and then some. So, I mean, the abuse that they put me through, they got away with basically because they put me through so much of it. I needed people to write reports. Like I was trying to get help before Natalie died. I was seeing therapists over the abuse I was enduring. Go ahead,
so
sorry.
Sean, I'm just rolling up to school. I didn't know I had to pick some shit up today, and I have to run inside in just a moment.
All right. So that's all the more time you got.
I've got another couple minutes. So I mean, I know you've been through hell and police fucked with you tons, but um, I'm curious what you want me to do with that information.
Um well I you know how you got a hold of that guy with 9 News for Michelle and for the other victims of Officer Lolatai?
Yeah,
Could you get a hold of them for
they
me?
just to tell you, I didn't get a hold of them. They got a hold of me. They reached out to us after we put out a press release.
Did you include me in that press release?
No, Sean,
Why not?
because your story is too damn complicated. I don't even know where to begin with your story.
Yeah. I
That's the difference. I mean, we've had this conversation. It's very. I mean, I saw that you emailed me that thing. I haven't read it yet. Um, long term, and I realize you have statute of limitations stuff going on too. Although I don't even know what to say because you also have you know existing warrants, and I don't know if the statutes continue until that's the time that they start polling. Doesn't begin until you're in custody. I have no idea.
Well, that's the thing. That's why I needed somebody to go in with me. They took full advantage of my disabilities. On my YouTube channel, I have over 70, over 80 now, conversations with witnesses that verify my stories. It's just a matter of getting people to look at them, and I speak so much because I have panic attacks, and it's scream at the top of my lungs, drive off a cliff, or make a video and hope someone listens.
Yeah.
I understand the complications of what's gone on with me, but if I could get help with just
I
focusing
mean,
on the part that those officers had prevented me from helping out officers in a murder investigation. They had obstructed justice in a murder investigation and impeded a murder investigation.
Yeah.
I mean, that part is pretty important. They took advantage of my disabilities, knowing full well that I had those disabilities, and they exploited those disabilities to their advantage to try to peg me for a crime I didn't commit. They didn't go after Joseph Lopez until the evidence that the DNA came in saying that I wasn't the killer. It shouldn't have taken that long for them to catch him.
Well, in the end, I mean, I agree with you, but in the end, they caught him and you were found innocent. So, um, you know, ultimately they did their job, even if they did slow work of it.
Well, they didn't do their job because they were able to tell my mom and my dad both within just a few days of Natalie disappearing that I hadn't done it. But in their 7 press releases, they never once let the public know that I didn't do it. As well as Detective Peterson, after telling my mom that I didn't do it, he let me know that his chief wouldn't allow him to do what it is that he needed to do in order to prevent me from any further abuse from other officers or from the public. He said that his sheriff or his boss wouldn't let him let it go, that he was basically still considering me a suspect. So basically what Boulder had done is prevent me from leaving state because they thought that I had done something that I didn't. I wasn't trying to flee state because I killed Natalie. I was trying to get somewhere safe because I was being abused by the police and by the public. I don't get to see my friends or family or loved ones. I have no familiarity. That's the most important thing for somebody with autism. There's a lot of videos on there, sir. I need someone to watch them. And I understand you're not going to have time, but if you could let Michelle know and let Zaid know, let anybody know that you think might look.
I do, when I say I do that, I do it right after I say that I'll do it.
Yes,
So
sir. I wholeheartedly believe that you do. I wanted you to let them know that those videos are out there and that I'm willing to take people's statements and post them up. Anyway, I should probably let you go ahead.
I say I let both of them know that you wanted to, that you asked me to pass the number on. That's all I said because that's what you asked.
Thank you, sir. I'm gonna let you get about your business now. You go ahead and be safe. All right.
All right, you as well.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye. It's just too complicated. And that's the thing, it's too complicated for me. I don't have the resources that these people have. I don't have the help that they have because it's so complicated. And I'm in a very vulnerable position now because I can't go see my loved ones, which helps me. And I can't go to the police because they're not going to help me. I'm in the wrong jurisdiction, and if I go to the right jurisdiction, it's officers who are covering for other officers, so I get more abuse. I get lied to. When I'm dead, maybe people will look back at this and realize what they've done. Shannon might realize that if she just stayed sober for a night or two, it would have helped. If Miss Peaches had let me, well, if her mother had let me stay a night after Natalie disappeared. I could have gotten the things that the detectives wanted instead of having to hunt for that stuff. Hunt for internet, hunt for a place where I wasn't being abused, where I wasn't harassed by the public or assaulted by the public or have homeless people get into fights over me. It's just too complicated. I don't have the money to do what it is that they ask of me. They made sure of that. They made sure that the witnesses were ignored, that nobody was allowed to show any of the shit that I was going through, or present any evidence on my behalf, or come to my defense. They preyed on these people's vulnerabilities as well. Their families were preyed on. Their children were preyed on or threatened. Did the Bollinger family at any point in time ask these people to stop? Did the Kelly family at any point in time ask these people to stop? I'm not supposed to be overwhelmed. I'm not allowed to be overwhelmed. I'm not allowed to be traumatized. Michelle, she was chemically injected as well. They do that a lot. When you try to turn in an officer for assaulting you, they call you crazy and they inject you with drugs. You're hysterical because you've just been assaulted by someone who is supposed to be in a position of power, a person that is supposed to hold public trust, and they abuse that trust. And then you're in a hospital where these people are supposed to help you, and instead they harm you and drug you. I stayed away from the drugs for a reason. I stayed away from the street drugs. I stayed away from the pills because I know what they do. It says right on most of them that suicide is one of the side effects. Homicidal tendencies are one of the fucking side effects, for Christ's sake. And you guys want to give people pills that do these things because they're overwhelmed, environmentally overwhelmed, and people are part of that environment. Shannon screaming was a part of that environment. My dad screaming is a part of that environment. Financially, I'm overwhelmed. The things that people commit suicide over, you look them up. I've endured all of them. When I was raped, nobody cared. When I was beaten up, nobody cared. When I was stolen from, nobody cared. I endured more hell than Natalie did with far less help. When she needed to recover from heroin, she went to her mom's house. When I needed to recover from alcohol, I lived in a garage for 2 months. When she busted her leg trying to kill herself because I wasn't there fast enough and her family pressure was fucking killing her, she had a benefit concert for her leg. I've got a ticket even. When I hurt my back, I was behind a dumpster getting harassed by the border police every day. When I needed family, Natalie was my family. Losing her and Miss Jerry and Lana and Amanda and Candace and Maddie all at the same time. They didn't understand. It's just too complicated. I jumped through so many hoops for so many places, filled out so many pieces of paper to try to get the help that I needed.